Welcome back to another episode of What the Poop. I'm your host, Holland, and today I'm going to give you an update on what happened on my road trip away, how it went, and we're going to talk about tips for eating in restaurants with ulcerative colitis. So stay tuned. Welcome to What the Poop, the podcast where we flesh out the realities of living with ulcerative colitis. I'm your host, Teri Holland, and after more than 3 decades of navigating the ups and downs of ulcerative colitis, I'm here to share my experiences, insights, and a little bit of humor to help you through your journey. In this podcast, we are dishing the scoop on what it really means to live with ulcerative colitis. We'll share stories, tips, and the latest info to help you navigate your journey. Whether you're newly diagnosed or you've been battling UC for years, this is your space to find community, laugh at the absurdities, and learn from others who get it. No topic is off limits, and no question is too awkward. So if you're ready to break the silence and take control over your ulcerative colitis, join me on What the Poop, because living with UC doesn't have to be a solo journey. Subscribe now wherever you get your podcasts, and let's face this together. Okay, first, the road trip update. I am home. I've been home for almost 2 weeks now. I meant to record this last week, but last week was so crazy when I got home and I had a ton of work to do. So last week it did not happen, but I am back and I am here now. So let's talk about how that road trip went. I had so many plans for how I was going to stick to my dietary needs. I've mentioned before, I'm eating carnivore, which has been a huge help in managing my ulcerative colitis. And we'll talk about that in a future episode. I have a lot of content planned for you, specifically about the carnivore diet and why I chose it. But this road trip threw everything off. I talked about in the last episode where I talked about preparing for the road trip. I mentioned that I tend to get constipated when I travel, and my colon did not let me down. I got constipated again. It's just what happens with me. So that was fine, though. I just drank extra water, took care of it, managed it. It was fine. But the eating part did not go the way I had planned. On the road, we did pretty well with snacks and food, but it is hard to find purely carnivore options. And my husband and I went into this trip knowing that we were probably going to sacrifice carnivore for the week we were away just to make life simple and easy. We probably went a little too far off of carnivore because I definitely did not feel well on the way home. Now, the food at the lodge we stayed at was phenomenal. And we went off the rails. We went off the rails food-wise, but it was a conscious choice to do it. Plus, the steakhouse there, the steaks were crazy expensive. So there was no way we were going to dine there 3 times a day. That would have been hundreds and hundreds of dollars per day to eat there. So we chose not to do that to save some money. And the place we were staying in was pretty isolated. So we were eating there or we were driving like 40 minutes to an hour to find something else. It just didn't make sense. So we did the best we could. We had some fun. We enjoyed ourselves. Plus, my colitis is in remission right now, so I don't really need to be as restrictive in terms of managing symptoms. But to manage my overall health, I find eating carnivore works best for my body. So we went off the rails. I was doing fine with it, though, until the drive home. And it's like, I swear, as soon as we were getting close to home and we re-entered the lower mainland and we were on the highway, all of a sudden my stomach started to hurt so badly. Like, in a way it hasn't hurt in a long time, and it all caught up with me. So that was not great, but luckily we were almost home. And then I felt terrible for a couple days. Like, absolutely terrible. So there were some lessons learned in that into, not going so far off the rails next time we decide to deviate from carnivore. And maybe planning a little more strategically on our vacations, maybe staying somewhere where we can prep our own food, for example, might be an idea. We talked about next time bringing a cooler and preparing some steaks in advance and bringing them with us, or just having some kind of meat options in the cooler that we can bring. Even bringing like a small camping stove with us so that we can grill our own meats outside. That would be super helpful, and we have it. And if you're taking a road trip, you have room to pack things, so why not? Why not set yourself up for success? So those are things that we'll do differently on future road trips. I did find though, and I do find that with the carnivore diet, it's much easier for me to get back onto it when I've come off of it. So that's a bonus. Whereas when I've done other meal plans in the past or other types of diets, I found it a struggle to get back onto it once I had deviated. I don't know why this is different. I don't know if it's my mindset is different or the way I feel on it is so good that it's worthwhile. I don't know. Or maybe because carnivore is really kind of a lazy diet and it's just easy to go back to. But let's talk about how you can eat in restaurants with ulcerative colitis. Because one of the things that I have found when I've had flare-ups is it can be tricky to try to eat out. So let's talk about that. First of all, research your restaurants, whether you are dining out in your hometown, your home environment, or you are traveling, research the restaurants. Find UC-friendly restaurants by checking menus online in advance. You can even call ahead to ask how they prepare food and see if there's any adjustments that can be made. One thing I found for my body is that seed oils don't work for me. So I'm not going to eat fried food in a restaurant because that's going to be fried in some kind of seed oil and I'm going to feel ill after. So find out how they're prepping the food and see if there's any flexibility or any way that you can have your food prepared differently. So for example, if I'm eating something that has been cooked in seed oils, I'm not going to feel great. But if they could switch it to butter instead, I will be fine with butter. Talk to the restaurant staff. So communicate your dietary needs and don't be afraid to do this. So many people have different food restrictions and dietary needs these days that restaurant staff, they are accustomed to this. So communicate effectively with the restaurant staff of what you need. Ask about modifications. Ask about food preparation. You don't need to be embarrassed about asking for these things because they are used to it. And so many restaurants today, when you go, you'll notice on the menu there's a gluten-free section, there's a vegan section, there's dairy-free choices. They are used to this. So don't be afraid to ask for what you need. Look for safe food options for you. And we've talked in previous episodes about what is a safe food. And a safe food is just something you know you can eat without having any issues with it and you can feel good. I always find like grilled meats, steak is always my number one go-to. If you tolerate vegetables well, maybe looking for steamed vegetables or seeing how they're prepared in a way that you can eat them. Ask about simple starches. I do quite well with plain white rice. I don't do so great with potatoes, as I'm finding. So figure out what works for your body and look for those options. And then avoid things that might be triggering for you. If spicy foods are triggering for you, avoid the spicy foods. If high-fat dishes are triggering for your colitis, avoid them. You might want to rethink the alcohol. I find that's very triggering for my body. I just stay away from alcohol now. But if you tolerate it well, then you do you. So just work with your body and look for the safe choices. There have been times too where I've looked at a menu, like say it's a friend's birthday or something, and I don't have any control over where we're eating out. And if there's nothing that I'm comfortable with on the menu, then I might just eat my own food before I go and not eat at the restaurant. And that's perfectly okay too. The most important thing is that you feel comfortable with what you're eating and that you are managing your health in the ways that work for you. What other people think or feel doesn't matter. And like I always like to say, if you don't live in my body, you have no say in what I eat, and your opinion doesn't matter. And then you might also want to consider having a backup plan. So if dining out doesn't go as expected, you might want to carry a small snack that you can fit in your purse or in a pocket, maybe a protein bar that you feel is one of your safe foods, or whatever it is, whatever it is that you can just easily bring with you when you're out. If you need something to eat and there's nothing available that you're comfortable with, then have a backup plan, have an emergency snack nearby that you can go to, that you can feel comfortable with eating. Thanks for joining me today. If you found this useful, make sure you hit the subscribe button, rate and review the show, and share it with your friends with ulcerative colitis, Crohn's, or any sort of inflammatory bowel issues, or share it with your friends and family who you think could learn a little more about what you deal with. I will be back again very soon, possibly this week. Probably not this week, actually. I have a lot scheduled the next 2 days, but I will be back again next week with another episode of What the Poop.